When I was in South Africa, I picked up this little saying by Arnold Bennett on time. And it says, by Arnold Bennett, "Time is the inexplicable raw material of everything. With it, all is possible. Without it, nothing. The supply of time is truly a daily miracle, an affair genuinely astonishing when one examines it. You wake up in the morning and lo, your purse is magically filled with 24 hours of the unmanufactured tissue of the universe of your life. It is yours. It is the most precious of possessions. No one can take it from you. It is unstealable. And no one receives either more or less than you receive. In the realm of time, there is no aristocracy of wealth and no aristocracy of intellect. Genius is never rewarded by even an extra hour a day. And there is no punishment. Waste your infinitely previous commodity as much as you will, and the supply will never be withheld from you. Moreover, you cannot draw on the future. Impossible to get into debt. You can only waste the passing moment. You cannot waste tomorrow. It is kept for you. You cannot waste the next hour. It is kept for you. I have said the affair was a genuine miracle. Is it not? You have to live on this 24 hours of daily time. Out of it, you have to spend health, pleasure, money, content, respect, and the evolution of your immortal soul. Its right use, its most effective use, is a matter of the highest urgency and of the most thrilling actuality. All depends on that. Your happiness, the elusive prize that you are all clutching for, my friends, depends on that. If one cannot arrange that an income of 24 hours shall exactly cover all proper items of expenditure, one does muddle one's whole life indefinitely. We shall never have any more time. We have, and we have always had, all the time there is. Arnold Bennett. Well said.
This guy wasn't doing well, and he wanted to have some advice for me, and I knew he had a television set, and I knew he watched a lot of television. I said, "How much did that television set cost you?" He said, "About $400. I said, "No, you're mistaken." He said, "No, this television set cost me $400. I said, "Well, that's to buy it. To watch it, I'm sure it's costing you about $40,000 a year to watch it."
Stop watching in prime time. Stop watching in prime time. Start living in prime time. Prime time is 7 to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, when all of America is watching other people making money, having fun in their professions. So if you want to watch other people making money, having fun in their professions, which gets their ratings up so they make more money, go ahead and do things that are tension relieving instead of goal achieving. But if you want to live that kind of life in prime time, right in prime time, intimacy in prime time, talking with your children in prime time, going to ethnic restaurants in prime time, living and doing in prime time instead of unhooking and tension relieving. Every book I've written has been written, all 17 books have been written in 7 to 11 p.m. weekly and on Saturday. Why? Because I'm earning money the rest of the time, and I don't have time to write a book except in prime time. So stop watching. Use the television set as an appliance. It has doors on it. Close the doors and use it like an iron. When you need to iron your clothes, bring out the TV set.
My biggest tip would probably be an area that I struggle in a lot. 15 years ago, I heard someone say that never handle the items in your inbox more than one time. And so I adopted that for email. And I get over 300 emails every day, even though I've got all kinds of filters, some of them going to other people, etc. My biggest challenge is to touch that email only one time. Return the email and delete it. Drag it to a folder for action by someone else or whatever, or delete it. If you continue to have to go back and revisit that email over and over trying to make a decision, that's time. That's wasted time. Plus, it's on your mind until you get rid of it. So if you can only touch those items, if you're in a profession that you handle a lot of email, or if you're still getting a lot of items in your inbox, only touch them one time. Make the decision. Discipline yourself to make the decision. Go on to the next item.
Dennis would say, television set is a wonderful servant, but a terrible master. And one of the things that we've learned in studying wealthy people in America is the amount of time they watch television. Once you pass $1 million a year, you find the average person watches television 5 hours a week, and most of it is pre-recorded. As you go down the socioeconomic scale, the Wall Street Journal did this, and you get to the lowest paid people, they watch television an average of 7 hours and 15 minutes a day. Now, the other thing is where is the television located? In the homes of wealthy people, the television is located in a separate room where you have to actually get up deliberately and go there and provide to watch television. It's a television room and it's not close to the center of the house. In the homes of poor people, the biggest television they can afford is in the center of the greatest amount of family traffic, and it's on all the time. So you can tell exactly by where your television is located and how long it's on, pretty much how much your family's going to earn and what the future is for you and your children. Now, I just want to add one last thing to that. My wife, I called home some time ago. It doesn't happen that often. I've got 4 children. And I called home, and the phone is in the family room where the television is. And I was talking to her on the phone. She said, "Do you notice anything?" I said, "No." She said, "Do you notice that it's silent here? There's no television on in the background where the kids would normally watch." I said, "What are the kids doing?" She said, "They're all reading." I said, "Isn't that incredible?" All 4 kids sitting around the turned off television in their own books, reading.
And you hear all the statistics that people watch television, and I basically made those statistics growing up. And my wife said, "How about if we pitch our television for the first year of our marriage?" And I said, "Why on earth would we do that?" And she said, "Well, I've heard that it helps you communicate, and you have to talk together and that kind of thing." So I said, "Okay, fine, we'll ditch the television for a year." And at the end of that next year, December 31st, 1989, I was the biggest fanatic of not having a television. And when I was doing time management seminars, I used to ask people, "How much television do you watch?" Because the very conservative estimate would be 20 hours a week. And people say, "Oh, no, nobody would admit they watch television 20 hours a week," but we make them go through and just add it up. And okay, so the morning show, and of course the news for an hour, and then a football game on the weekend, and you add it all up, and most people got into that 17 to 23 hour range. But what really is powerful and what they've been saying is have you ever added up what that equals in a year? 20 hours a week times 50 weeks, we'll give you 2 weeks off for vacation. Of course, I watch all my television on vacation now. When I go away, I get to catch up on it. But if you have 50 weeks times 20 hours, it's 1,000 hours. Divide that by 40, and how many work weeks are you talking about that you've given away? 25, 26 work weeks, which is a half of a year. How would you like to be able to have 18 months, what everybody else only gets 12 months to do? The television has got to be one of the biggest time wasters there is. My mom says, "Well, you're missing so many good things." And I say, they have books that'll cover that kind of stuff as well. And that's kind of my soapbox. I like to tell people to pitch their television. It's so important, so true. And you'll actually talk to your wife a lot more as well. So, and your kids, and they learn to read, and it's good stuff.
Make appointments with yourself. I make appointments with myself. When I've got to do certain things, I go into my planner and I put those times in so that I will take those times the same way if I were going to meet with Charlie or with Vic, I'm going to meet with Donna to get something done. So I make appointments with myself. I do regular time studies. I know that all of us in this room are people who make lists. Well, after I make my list, I sit down and decide how long each one of those tasks is really going to take. Because inevitably, in an 8, 10, 12-hour day, I'll have 18 hours worth of stuff on my list. So something's got to get moved or be abridged or something so that it can really work out. Fit some kind of workout into each day. It can be lifting, it can be walking, it can be running, it can be a class, and people usually say, "Well, Donna, that takes more time." No. When you have a specific time each day that you work out, what happens is you become a disciplined person. And when you are a disciplined person, you guard time a little bit more, you keep your appointments a little bit more regularly, and you actually find you have more time, not less time, because you've learned how to allot time.
My experience is with people that we're probably running at about 51% of our capacity. Something, I mean, you can think about this yourselves. I often ask undergraduates how many hours a day you waste or how many hours a week you waste. And the classic answer is something like 4 to 6 hours a day. You know, inefficient studying, watching things on YouTube that not only do you not want to watch, that you don't even care about, that make you feel horrible about watching after you're done. That's probably 4 hours right there. You know, you think, well, that's 20, 25 hours a week. It's 100 hours a month. That's 2.5 full work weeks. It's half a year of work weeks per year. And if your time is worth $20 an hour, which is a radical underestimate, it's probably more like 50 if you think about it in terms of deferred wages. If you're wasting 20 hours a week, you're wasting $50,000 a year. And you are doing that right now. And it's because you're young, wasting $50,000 a year is a way bigger catastrophe than it would be for me to waste it, because I'm not going to last nearly as long. And so if your life isn't everything it could be, you could ask yourself, well, what would happen if you just stopped wasting the opportunities that are in front of you? You'd be who knows how much more efficient? 10 times more efficient, 20 times more efficient. That's the Pareto distribution. You have no idea how efficient people get. It's off the charts. Make a damn schedule and stick to it. Okay, so what's the rule with the schedule? It's not a bloody prison. That's the first thing that people do wrong. They say, well, I don't like to follow a schedule. Well, what kind of schedule are you setting up? Well, I have to do this, then I have to do this, then I have to do this, you know, and then I just go play video games, because who wants to do all these things that I have to do? It's like, wrong. Set the damn schedule up so that you have the day you want. That's the trick. It's like, okay, I've got tomorrow. If I was going to set it up so it was the best possible day I could have, practically speaking, what would it look like? Well, then you schedule that. And obviously there's a bit of responsibility that's going to go along with that, because if you have any sense, one of the things that you're going to insist upon is that at the end of the day, you're not in worse shape than you were at the beginning of the day, right? Because that's a stupid day. If you have a bunch of those in a row, you dig yourself a hole and then you bury yourself in it. It's like, sorry, that's just not a good strategy. It's a bad strategy. Plan a life you'd like to have. You have to understand that you're not your own servant, so to speak. You're someone that you have to negotiate with, and you're someone that you want to present the opportunity of having a good life to. So maybe 20% of your day has to be responsibility and obligation, or maybe it's more than that, depending on how far behind you are. But even that, you can ask yourself, okay, well, I've got these responsibilities. I have to schedule the damn things in. What's the right ratio of responsibility to reward? So maybe you do an hour of responsibility and then you play a video game for 15 minutes. I don't know, whatever turns your crank, man. But you have to negotiate with yourself and not tyrannize yourself. Like you're negotiating with someone that you care for, that you would like to be productive and have a good life. And that's how you make the schedule. And then you look at the day and you think, well, if I had that day, that'd be good. Great. You know, and you're useless and horrible, so you'll probably only hit it with about 70% accuracy, but that beats the hell out of 0, right? And if you hit it even with 50% accuracy, another rule is, well, aim for 51% the next week, or 50.5% for God's sake, or because you're going to hit that position where things start to loop back positively and spiral you upward. One of the things you should be asking yourself is, when you spend an hour, was that, well, what if I paid someone $50 to have had that hour? And if the answer is no, it's like, well, maybe you should do something else with your time. And it depends on whether or not you think that your time's worthwhile. But the funny thing about not assuming that is, if you assume your time isn't worthwhile, what happens is you don't just sit around sort of randomly in a state of responsibility-less bliss. What you do is you suffer existentially. And so that seems like a stupid solution.